Hey honey bunches, it's currently 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, so bit of a forest start to this video. Just missed the middle of the day. This morning I was doing some more work for the 2022 calendar and ended up shooting one recipe for a gorge Cobb salad. They're so yum. The other recipe looked a bit like a lol, like the most non-calendar-esque type visual, but it was a leek flummish. And we'll just skip right past that one. I think I've shot half of the calendar so far. It's been a bit of like a on the fly, figure out what I'm doing as I'm going, because my quest to make the gorge Australian native flora and landscapes near where I live a bit of a character in the food photography has sat at odds with the fact that it's still food photography and I'm doing 12 recipes with this calendar and I need to show the food. And to show the food, you kind of need to be close up. So it's become a little less grand because I can't really show grand landscapes with food. The food just looks like a joke, like a little joke in the landscape, which has kind of made me had to rejig my expectations because, of course, my brain's like, well, it's not epic and grand and calendar enough if it's a bit more close up, but actually the textures, I have to try and find some fresh eyes, and in doing so, I can appreciate that the peeling strippy bark on winding rhythmical Banksia trunks is actually rather spectacular, as is powdery gradient sandstone, and I don't need to, as I'm sometimes known to do. I don't have to fit every idea and concept and hope into one project, one photograph. Anyway, the recipes are really good, and I still think I encapsulate a sort of like main character energy with the food in the photography. Yesterday was fun. I worked on the calendar yesterday as well, and I took the food to this little reserve. Didn't realise that there's like a, what are they called, a gang of magpies that kind of control the space, we could say. And as soon as I put my food down, they were there. So they ended up being in the shot, which is actually kind of really cool. Not as grand as like a pelican, or a galah, or a cockatoo, but hey, we'll take them. Yeah, and they ended up taking some of my food, but thought that was fair payment for their participation in the shoot. This afternoon I sent off some pictures, and if that doesn't make much sense, it's in my other thing I do as a freelance food writer. Well, we're trying to be one. And it was a great mail day. Got so many lovely letters from pen pals. And then this organic cotton ARC singlet arrived, which looks teeny, however, I assure you it's for very hot weather and it stretches heaps. Combination of bushfires in 2020 and then, I don't know, global warming making summer quite buggy, and also having a puppy in the last summer. I don't just feel like summers go so quick. So quick. Anyway, the singlets to go with some really nice plaid shorts that I treated myself from Big Bud Press, from their latest collection-y. So I'm excited to wear that outfit this summer. I'm filming this video a little earlier in the week than I usually do because my brother is going to London in less than a week now for 3 years minimum to do a PhD, and I don't know if you know the border situation here or how hard it is to get a ticket to come back, but it feels extremely final, and it's hard to come to terms with. So not much is happening because I'm like soaking up every last minute while he's still here. My brother Luke is 2 years older, FYI, and my only sibling, if you hadn't figured that one out. I hope you're doing okay when you're watching this. There's so much painy-wainy in the world right now, and I don't know about you, but I personally have been struggling more so to have like any sort of positive thought from the moment I wake up to when I go to sleep. That's not true, but like, I'm just gonna say I feel that way because it sort of feels true. And at least for the lockdown happening, it's just getting to like no hope at the end of the tunnel. Life of like 0 cases, well and truly a thing of the past, and it being like an ultra marathon times 10 rather than a sprint is becoming more evident.
think something new under the sun. You can't take back them things you already done. No. You blame things that you do on somebody else. No. But they all see is you need help. But still you try so hard to cover up your games. You try so hard, hoping that one day something gon' change.
I filmed the first episode of this series titled Everything I Know About Vegan and Gluten-Free Baking, which isn't conclusive, and I hope it will algorithmically attract people who experiment in this space, and there can be a dialogue of, personal home cook knowledge in the comment section. But yeah, that was the third time of trying to film that, because the first two tries I had died inside of self-boredom. So I think the format and how I'm delivering it at the moment is the sticker, the goer, whatever. I just popped to the post office to send off some orders, and I'm going to make sushi bowls for dinner. But I thought I'd mention 2 documentaries I've watched recently. I'm on a bit of like a documentary hit. Like, I don't know if it's spring or the fact that I haven't watched a movie, but then my attention span's gone all woozy over the year, so a documentary based on something real keeps my attention a bit more, as depressing as that whole admission is. Also Netflix documentaries, I mentioned this on my Patreon, but like kind of a genre of their own. They're like hyper, like stylized. It's just with the purpose of being like very gripping and digestible and intriguing. So they're very easy to watch, and I roll my eyes like the whole way through at how American-centered and like main character energy they are, but they're still fun. So the 2 I thought I mentioned, the favourite Netflix documentary I've watched recently is the Bob Ross one, which is so sad. It's essentially about how his son, who he intended to leave everything to when he knew he was dying and had like months to live, in like 95 when he was dying from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which may or may not have been exacerbated by his painting technique with all the paint that he used that he like splashed about and inhaled. Addedly sad, either way. The Bob Ross name, all the paints, all the merchandise, everything makes millions every year, but this couple that just sound like awful selfish people that they don't embody an ounce of like the Bob Ross like feel good feels, or like the self-belief he instills in other people, sort of selflessness and appreciation of what's important in life and nature. Yeah, just quite selfish people who essentially stole his name and sue everyone. So you're kind of watching this and it's kind of comical in that like 80% of the people that would help tell the story don't want to be interviewed because they don't want to be sued by these people who are known for suing people. But the son's in it, and hearing about his relationship with his dad, I don't know, just very beautiful. And at the end of the day, like, he has the skill of painting, he has the practice of painting, and no one can take that away from him, and he still teaches around the country. But a very interesting look behind the pop culture icon, I would highly recommend. Then my brother and I watched an Australian documentary, it's currently on SBS On Demand, called Strong Female Lead, all about Julia Gillard's time in office and as PM. She was one of our prime ministers from like 2011 to 2014. That's not right, but that's my guess. The first and only female PM we've had, and it's about all the abuse and sexism, misogyny that she copped, sort of leading up to the misogyny speech she gave, which you might have heard of if you're not here, because it did the rounds, redone the rounds because of TikTok, and it's enormously depressing, makes you tenfold hate our political institutions and just hate like the world of politics in general. But no, it's still really good. I would recommend. She's not in it, it's just using archival footage and like the flow of events as they happened. I think it's a very important watch. Julia Gillard has like her own website, which is like the everyman, a bit like a portfolio, and she wrote a blog post about it saying, I just hope it doesn't deter anyone going into politics, because it still was the greatest honour of my life, and like that documentary paints a very negative and justly, you know, despicable image of society's attitudes to women when they're in positions of power. But like, we still gotta encourage young girls to get into leadership positions. It's like classic Julia. Kind of find it ironic how she's the head of Beyond Blue at the moment, because surely the hate she's been subjected to, like, it should have had an effect on her mental health. So maybe she's a little bit superhuman in that way, and not the most relatable in terms of dishing out coping mechanisms on how to save your brain and sanity during COVID lockdowns.
For me, it is a present for one of my friends.